So far in this series, we've accompanied the Call of Duty franchise on a sheer unstoppable winning streak, starting from its more or less humble beginnings in 2003 when it left its spiritual ancestor Medal of Honor in the dust almost effortlessly, over Modern Warfare's commercial aperture in 2007 and up until the launch of Black Ops in 2010. It marked the first time a Treyarch-made entry in the series managed to not only outsell the latest Infinity Ward title, but to break sales records even beyond the boundaries of the video game industry. With such an overwhelming commercial momentum in place, Activision was set to push the Star brand to even further heights. But as we mentioned in the last video, Call of Duty's original creators, alongside a substantial amount of frustrated employees, entered into a nasty legal battle with Activision and eventually migrated to their newly founded Respawn Entertainment under Electronic Arts, thus leaving Infinity Ward with only a skeleton crew, and all of that happened in the middle of developing Modern Warfare 3, which meant Activision had to drastically up their game if they wanted to keep their deadline. So without further ado, I'm Drifter.
And I'm Reznor, and this is the history of Call of Duty. At the time of the legal battle between Infinity Ward's co-founders Jason West and Vince Zampella and their publisher, with Modern Warfare 3 being still in the early stages of development and Treyarch's first Black Ops still a good half-year from being released, Activision was working with yet another developer studio on a brand new spin-off series to Call of Duty. Developed by Sledgehammer Games, a studio founded by Dead Space creators Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, the project went under the working title Call of Duty Fog of War and would have featured Uncharted-style third-person shooter gameplay in a true and gritty Apocalypse Now take on the Cambodian campaign of the Vietnam War in 1970. But with almost half the staff of Infinity Ward deserting to Electronic Arts and the fate of their most prolific IP, the Modern Warfare series, in the balance, Activision didn't hesitate to shelve the less important spin-off Fog of War. They assigned the entirety of Sledgehammer Games to help developing Modern Warfare 3 in a joint effort with the remaining Infinity Ward employees. In addition to that, Infinity Ward was being completely restructured and urgently began hiring new staff to fill up the holes in the company's infrastructure. So, Activision brought yet another developer studio on board to work on MW3. Raven Software, a company founded in 1990 that had long since gained the reputation of being one of the most proficient quality contract developers in the industry. And among their most renowned works, we find many iconic titles such as the Hexen and Heretic, the Soldier of Fortune series, Star Trek, Voyager, Elite Force, and Star Wars, Jedi Knight 2, Quake 4, and the 2009 Wolfenstein remake.
Modern Warfare 3 was built on a slightly modernized version of the IW engine that was used for every entry of the series so far. Version 5.0 provided improved texture streaming technology to render larger regions in real time and an enhanced lighting engine that allowed for more dynamic reflections. The game's single-player campaign continued and concluded the story of the disavowed SAS elite soldiers Captain Price and Soap McTavish in their fight against the Russian ultranationalist terrorist leader Vladimir Makarov's ploy to manipulate the world's most powerful armies into fighting an all-out war against each other. Throughout the plotline, the player assumes, once again in good old Call of Duty fashion, the role of several protagonists, including the former Spetsnaz operative Yuri as the new member of TF-141, Sergeant Derek Frost Westbrook of Delta Force, Sergeant Marcus Burns of the British Special Air Service, as well as the Russian federal agent Andrei Kharkov, who serves as the personal bodyguard of the Russian president, and ultimately for the first time in the series, the player would assume the role of Captain Price himself for the grand showdown against the antagonist Makarov.
Infinity Ward once again hired a cast of well-renowned actors to lend their voices to several NPCs in the game, such as Delta Force operative Sandman, voiced by William Fichtner from Prison Break, Truck, who was portrayed by Idris Elba from The Wire, as well as Grinch, who was played by Timothy Olyphant from Deadwood and Justified, and Craig Fairbrass, the distinctive Cockney voice behind Gas in the first game and Ghost in the second, returned to voice yet another British SAS operative in Modern Warfare 3.
Take him down.
The campaign included missions ranging all across the global conflict that was punned by the game's title into World War III, starting with a battle in the urban canyons of Manhattan, followed by a covert Navy SEALs takeover of a Russian submarine, and ending in the obliteration of New York City. Task Force 141 visits places such as Sierra Leone, Somalia, Prague, and a diamond mine in Siberia on their hunt for Makarov, while the Delta Force SAS operatives engage in skirmishes in European metropolises, witnessing the chemical obliteration of London, the amphibious obliteration of Hamburg, and the airborne obliteration of Paris. Oh, and Berlin also gets obliterated. Yep. One special mission puts you aboard the Russian presidential aircraft during a hostile takeover from ultranationalist rebels. With the plane rapidly losing altitude, friend and foe find themselves several times in freefall-induced zero gravity, which puts an interesting twist on the enclosed combat situation at hand.
For the multiplayer, the developers decided to change a few aspects of the tried-and-true formula. For example, they changed the kill streak system into point streaks, meaning that, aside from kills, completing objectives such as planting a bomb or capturing a flag and other team-based achievements would also count toward the player's streak rewards. This system was implemented to incentivize team play over the rather egocentric kill-death-oriented playstyle. Aside from this, the ranking and unlock system was also vastly overhauled, including features such as weapon proficiencies that can be put on the primary weapon. The game also introduced the Prestige Shop, which allows Prestige players to use tokens to buy exclusive features such as double XP or custom weapon classes. In addition to that, Modern Warfare 3 introduced a handful of new multiplayer game modes such as Kill Confirmed and Team Defender. The game also brought back the Special Ops co-op mode from Modern Warfare 2, as well as the new Survival mode in which players have to cooperatively hold out as long as possible against endless waves of enemies, with each wave becoming increasingly difficult over time. Not that different from the Zombies mode in Black Ops, just, without zombies or Easter eggs.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was released worldwide on November 8, 2011 for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, and PC, receiving overall positive reviews from critics, with the console releases ranking higher than the PC version and the Wii port receiving only average review scores. Commercially, however, it not only turned into the most profitable video game launch of all time, MW3's release marked the first time a video game had achieved the most successful entertainment launch in history, a record that was, at the time, held by James Cameron's blockbuster movie Avatar. According to Activision, the game shipped more pre-order copies than any game ever before, with more than 6.5 million units grossing over $400 million on launch day in the UK and US alone, rising to a staggering $775 million within only the first 5 days. It surpassed $1 billion of revenue within 16 days and thereby beating Avatar's standing record of 19 days.
The game was launched alongside the new Call of Duty Elite online service, which gave paying subscribers access to a number of bonus features such as free monthly downloadable content drops like maps and Spec Ops missions, daily competitions with real-life prizes, pro strategies and analysis, Call of Duty Elite TV, weapon guides by Xbox Ahoy, and several other features. Through October 2012, Activision released 6 DLC content collections, 2 of which were free of charge for all players. In May 2012, players were introduced with the Face-Off game mode that came with specifically designed maps for 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3 matches. On the very day of Modern Warfare 3's launch, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick confirmed that the next Call of Duty installment was already in development, which was later revealed by Activision to be Black Ops 2. The game's director, Dave Anthony, promised the team was working on meaningful innovations that would make the series stand out from its predecessors in both single-player and multiplayer design.
The story campaign continued the narrative arc revolving around the CIA covert operatives Alex Mason and Frank Woods, but is told largely from the viewpoint of Mason's son, David. It features 2 separate but connected storylines in 2 different time periods, with the first set between 1986 and 1989 during the final years of the Cold War and told in retrospective flashbacks by an elderly Frank Woods. The main storyline takes place in 2025 during a second Cold War, in which US Spec Ops David Mason and his partner Harper attempt to stop the game's primary antagonist, Raul Menendez, whose character was strongly inspired by Scarface's Tony Montana and the Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar. Menendez is a Nicaraguan political activist and eventual terrorist leader of the organization CoD, which attempts to overthrow the United States by remotely hijacking automated US military drones and using them to attack major domestic cities throughout the US and China. Menendez is known to be extremely charismatic, nicknamed the Messiah of the 99%, and he employs viral media influence to pander his ideologies to the masses, bringing people all over the world to idolize him.
The campaign was structured significantly different to former Call of Duty campaigns. The missions would constantly switch between near-future warfare, featuring futuristic gadgets and equipment such as drones, augmented reality contact lenses, super modern armaments, and high-tech weapon attachments like target finders, millimeter scanners, and even wingsuits, and then back to assignments in the Cold War era in which players and enemies relied on more traditional instruments of warfare and espionage. It was also the first Call of Duty campaign to let the player choose a custom loadout before each mission, featuring a plethora of unlockable contemporary new weapons, items, and attachments. In addition to that, players were allowed to engage in optional Strike Force missions only available for a short amount of time, in which you had to order several groups of NPC soldiers and vehicles around to fulfill mission objectives. Black Ops 2 was also the first campaign that would feature a branching storyline, as finishing the Strike Force missions could, in minor and in major ways, influence the course of the main storyline and several points in the narrative. The player had to make moral choices that could also alter the outcome of the story, sometimes through direct binary decisions like kill a character or take them into custody, or sometimes by providing optional mission goals that would affect the following events in one way or another.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2 also marked the point from which on Treyarch and Infinity Ward took individual paths with the development of the IW engine. Where Modern Warfare 3 was developed on an improved version of the IW 4.0 engine, which had formerly fueled Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, on the other hand, was built on a new iteration of the IW 3.0 engine, which had been used for Black Ops 1 before, and which was now simply named the Black Ops 2 engine. It brought many new and improved technical features to the table, such as reveal mapping, improved water, lighting and lens flare effects, HDR lighting, self-shadowing and intersecting shadows, and for the first time, DirectX 11 support for the PC version.
In terms of multiplayer, Black Ops 2 easily brought the most innovations to the formula since the transition to the first Modern Warfare, and was considered in many ways ahead of its time, especially in regards to its strong focus on competitive play. It introduced League Play, a competitive mode based on Major League gaming rules, which allowed for a rank progression similar to League of Legends, from which the top teams were invited to compete at the Call of Duty World Championship. Weapons and perks were frequently balanced with the competitive scene in mind, and players were given the possibility to customize their weapons with self-made clan tags and emblems. Black Ops 2 was also the first Call of Duty game to feature score streaks over the traditional kill streak system. Score streaks rewarded players based on point accumulation. This meant that capturing a flag could be worth several times more than just killing a person. It also introduced the Pick 10 system for the creation of players' individual loadouts, allowing for 10 total allocation slots per class for a very liberal and balanced distribution of guns, perks, items, attachments, and streak rewards, and so on. It was the first game that offered the possibility to stream directly to Twitch, first introduced on Xbox 360 and later on PC and PS3. The stream quality was low resolution and would not broadcast player voice, but this is not a feature that would be seen again until the release of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Once again, Treyarch brought their signature zombie co-op mode back with brand new game modes in addition to the classic survival mode, and a plethora of new features such as the Grief mode, which pitted 2 teams of 4 players against each other in a competition for survival against waves of incoming zombies. Instead of sticking with the previous heroes, Treyarch opted for 4 new heroes and changed the setting to the near future. The first map, Transit, featured several different locations that required players to take a bus between them while zombies tried to break into the bus. The next 2 maps were increasingly complex both in size, story, and Easter egg difficulty. The final map, Origins, brought back the original characters and new Richtofen and explained the genesis of the zombies, somewhat, and was a huge setup for Black Ops 3 Zombies.
Black Ops 2 also managed to uphold one of the more questionable traditions of the franchise by causing another major lawsuit. This time, though, it wasn't an internal legal battle that unfolded, but Activision was being sued by the former Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega for the use of his likeness in the Cold War portions of the story campaign, in which he was portrayed as one of the game's main antagonists. He sought compensation for lost profits and damages for his depiction as a kidnapper, murderer, and enemy of the state. But on October 28, the Los Angeles court dismissed the accusations with the decision that Noriega's inclusion was protected under the laws of free speech.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was released worldwide on November 12, 2012 for PC, November 13th for PS3 and Xbox 360, and 1 week later for the Nintendo Wii U. It received only slightly lower critical scores than its direct predecessor, but at the same time, it marked the absolute commercial high point of the entire series. Over 7.5 million copies were sold, grossing over $500 million within the first 24 hours of launch in the United States alone, and it surpassed the standing record of biggest entertainment launch of all time, breaking through the billion-dollar barrier in only 15 days, exactly 1 day faster than Modern Warfare 3 had the year before. Up until this day, Black Ops 2 remains the most successful release and thereby the commercial apex of the entire series. Its multiplayer was so popular that even its direct sequels Ghost and Advanced Warfare weren't able to surpass its player numbers for the next 2 years to come. The launch of the new consoles also helped contribute to this popularity, since Black Ops 2 ran better on PS3 and Xbox 360 than Call of Duty Ghost and Advanced Warfare ports.
Judging from this data, one could assume that it's also the best-selling entry in the series in the long run, but according to shareholder reports, this title is still held by Modern Warfare 3, with roughly 30.7 million units in total sold by December 2015, just closely followed by the first Black Ops with a total of 30.5 million units. Black Ops 2 only comes in third place with about 29 million units sold, but only by a very small margin. The next place in the ladder of commercial Call of Duty All-Stars might surprise a few people. It's the direct successor, Ghosts.
That's all for this video. I hope you learned something, and if you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. You can subscribe directly to my channel, or you can click the links in the description to check out Ragnar's channel. Drifter out.